The NFL free agency has met expectation. There has been some insane signings, and we're going to kick things off right now with Aaron Rodgers declaring that he intends to play for the New York Jets in 2023. The Green Bay Packers quarterback declared on the Pat McAfee show that he intends to play for the New York Jets. There is for sure a lot of excitement with that offense, being that they have so much young talent, especially beginning with wide receiver Garrett Wilson. From a fantasy football perspective, Garrett Wilson is going to benefit so much with Aaron Rodgers under center. Garrett Wilson is coming off a season where he had over 1,100 receiving yards, had 83 receptions on 147 targets with 4 touchdowns. And then you have Breece Hall, where they had reports saying that he actually was ahead of schedule with his rehab and should be ready to go by the start of training camp. Even though we don't know the timetable for when this trade was going to get executed, there's still no denying that the Jets offense is going to see so much more improvements with Aaron Rodgers under center. We saw some big trades happen yesterday as well. Darren Waller has been traded to the New York Giants. The Las Vegas Raiders were able to move the superstar tight end for a third-round compensation pick from the Giants. This is going to benefit the Giants immediately, being that this receiving core has always lacked consistency. They did re-sign Sterling Shepard to a contract, but now you add Darren Waller, who is going to benefit this team so much on the offensive front. Darren Waller, despite a down season, still led all tight ends in ADOT as well as deep targets. This is going to definitely open up that offense there for New York and going to make a huge upgrade in a much needed depleted receiving core. And on the other side, the Raiders are leveling up as well. They added another wide receiver, Jacoby Myers. They were able to sign him for a 3-year, $33 million contract, and this is going to bode well for that offense as well, being that they already have Devontae Adams. They just recently signed Jimmy Garoppolo earlier in the week, so you have stability under center. You also have a really strong running game with Josh Jacobs, so this offense is going to move into the right direction, especially now that you move Darren Waller. You expect that Jacoby Myers is going to be productive, and you also expect the same already from Devontae Adams, being that he is a superstar. Myers is going to be reunited with coach Josh McDaniels, and Myers is coming off now 3 straight seasons where he's actually had double-digit yards per reception, and the fact that this receiving core is going to feature Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Jacoby Myers is only going to bode well for Jimmy Garoppolo, especially with Josh Jacobs still under contract for another season. Now, New England actually upgraded at wide receiver, being that they had to replace the loss of Jacoby Myers. They signed former Kansas City wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster is signing a 3-year, $33 million contract with $22 million guaranteed. He instantly slides in as the wide receiver 1, being that this wide receiver core was already depleted as it is outside of Jacoby Myers. And now you have Mac Jones with a solidified weapon. So I expect a fantasy football boost for Juju Smith-Schuster this upcoming season. It'll just only be a matter of time to see where his ADP is at, but his value should be pretty steady considering that he had a pretty good season on a prove-it contract with Kansas City in 2022. In other news for New England, they also signed veteran running back James Robinson. This really isn't an exciting pick other than the fact that he is going to instantly fill into that backup role behind Ramondre Stevenson. I expect James Robinson to be a successful handcuff to invest in, being that we know that this offense is going to run first with Ramondre in that backfield. Another running back signing that took place yesterday was David Montgomery, and this one was surprising because he signed with Detroit, and the first thing I instantly thought is, there goes DeAndre Swift's job. For me, this is a bummer because DeAndre Swift is a very talented pass-catching running back, someone that we thought was going to have a bigger role, but we saw that role diminish last season with Jamal Williams, and now you bring in David Montgomery. Even though David Montgomery had a down season last year with Chicago, he still was 3rd among running backs in yards per reception, and he also was 3rd in catch rate. And then you also add that he was 8th in evaded tackles. He also was top 10 in yards per route run. David Montgomery is signing with the Detroit Lions on a 3-year, $18 million contract with $11 million guaranteed. This is a very hefty amount, and you have to follow the money in this situation, which only bodes negatively for running back DeAndre Swift, who will now slide into that backup role with this signing. So unfortunately, if you have DeAndre Swift, you may want to consider shopping him on the market, especially if you are in Dynasty, to see what kind of value is offered, because unfortunately, David Montgomery is going to be eating a lot in this this offense. And Miles Sanders has decided to sign with the Carolina Panthers on a 4-year, $25 million contract. Miles Sanders is coming off a career high in rushing yards as well as touchdowns. He also was a first-time Pro Bowler in 2022, and since 2021, Miles Sanders has been one of the more efficient runners. He actually ranks third in yards per carry at 5.1, and with this signing, you have to imagine that he is going to be the RB1, even though there were reports that D'Onta Foreman is going to return in Carolina. No agreement has been made just yet, but regardless, though, the report did state that they are still working on a deal to bring him back. So it's not ruled out that Foreman will be out in this backfield. But with the money that Sanders is being paid, you have to imagine that he's going to slide in and be the RB1 for the Carolina Panthers. And then, as expected, we knew this was going to happen after the Tony Pollard franchise tag, but the Cowboys have decided to release Ezekiel Elliott. This comes as no surprise, as aforementioned, as his salary was extremely hefty, and the Cowboys had already decided to franchise tag Tony Pollard, so this was only a matter of money. Ezekiel Elliott was also informed that he will be designated as a post-June 1st release, which means that the Dallas Cowboys will save about $10.9 million in their cap with this transaction. Now the question is, where does Ezekiel Elliott end up in 2023? Hey guys, so be sure to subscribe so that way you are up to date on all the information that is taking place with all these transactions, and you also know the impact that it will have for the 2023 fantasy football season.